What's up, guys? My name is Witty, and we are back on Palworld today. I saw in a couple of the comments in my recent videos, a lot of people were wanting a tutorial for how to build kind of a starter house or something along those lines that looked good. So today, that is exactly what we're going to be doing. And as you can see here, my inventory is loaded with a ton of building supplies. I don't know exactly what supplies you're going to need for this, but it is worth noting that all of the decorating I do is completely unnecessary. It's just extra to make things look better. Fundamentally, if you just need a starter house, you can simply do the wood foundations, walls, etc. that we're doing in this video and stop there. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in to this build. Now, the first thing we're going to do is place our foundation a little closer to the ground. I am assuming you're building on flat land. If not, I mean, feel free to do this however you want. Preferably, I place mine just like this. And we're actually going to have a 4x4 square. Now, don't pay any mind to the fact that mine is sticking out of the circle a little bit. It does not matter. Now, once we have this square, we're actually going to remove these two blocks on the corner because we're going to have farms there. And if you really want to, you can go ahead and place those down. Completely up to you. I'm not going to worry about them being placed perfectly. I will fix that, but, you know, I'm not going to worry about them being placed down perfectly because this is a temporary build for my sake. But that is where I start my farming and have my farms on the side of my house personally. So if that's something you're interested in doing, then feel free to do that. I am going to start by building the walls, which will be on the back side of the base here. And we'll actually wrap around all the way to right here. Now, while we're already in place, we're going to build these two support beams, the triangles, the triangular walls. And that is because this is where our second story will exist. And if you want, you can go ahead and add the stairs so you don't forget later. But that is where they are going to go for this build. Obviously, we'll be leading up to our second story here, and we'll have a little overhang and a porch and all that kind of fun stuff. So we'll get to that here shortly. For now, on the other hand, we are going to go ahead and build our walls on this side. We're going to throw a window right here and one last wall. Now, this is where I would actually recommend that you start building up your second story. It's going to look pretty weird to start out, but just trust me, have a little faith. Once you have this type of design in place, you have to keep in mind that some of this is just going to be the porch. And because of that, we do need to actually add a window here, and a door straight in the middle. Now, this window is kind of optional. I use this side for storage. So personally, I would actually recommend putting a wall there because you're only going to see out that window into a bunch of crates and whatnot. So, personal preference, but I would throw a wall there personally. Now, this is the most fun part for most people, the roof. They tend to not want to cooperate, but if you stand lower and place the ones to the ground and then extend it, you can simply delete the bottom ones, and I've found that that's just a way easier way to place roofs. I am going to be a little encumbered here. There we go. And we'll finish that off, obviously, with our triangular walls. Now, this part's where it gets a little more fun, because we're not actually going to put the roof there. We're going to go one block higher. So I would recommend putting windows here just for aesthetic purposes and another door. Now, the rest of this outline here can essentially just be walls. If you want some more windows, feel free to add them. I didn't personally. Once you have walls all the way around the top side, we're going right back to the roofing process. Now, obviously, we can finish this off by throwing in our triangular walls. Make sure you place them in the right direction, though, unlike me. And once that's finished, you pretty much have the layout for a house already complete. Now, this is where I would begin decorating, personally. There are a lot of options as far as decorating goes. This is the exact same house that I use in one of my builds, my main base, which is not here, obviously. And it's just decked out with decorations. So We'll go ahead and do a few of those things just to give you guys some ideas, but I won't bother diving too deep into it. If you use the antique braided baskets, I believe they're called, you can actually use these to function kind of like a railing or a fence or whatever you want to call it. And you can kind of just place them like this along the outside of your front porch as well as the overhang above us. Now, I'm not going to place these perfectly neat because I don't have the time and patience to do it all over again. But in a perfect world, you would be placing these pixel perfect almost, just for the appearance sake. And I would recommend personally coming maybe halfway out, just so you don't, obstruct the entrance here. And probably about there is where I would stop. We'll go ahead and have our Anubis build up these guys so we don't have to mess with it. And we'll go start with the ones on the top floor. Alright, once we've added all of our antique baskets, it will look something like this. We have a little front porch area here, and then we have this overhang on the second story. Now, I'm going to go ahead and lay down some rugs because I know I'm going to want them. It's up to you if you do this, but personally, I threw one on the top floor here. And I threw an antique round table with a couple of chairs up here as well. So I would do something like this with, say, an antique chair on this side and another one on this side. Nice and easy, nice and simple. Other than that, I would definitely recommend throwing houseplants all over the place. They really add to the aesthetic of builds in this game, and I personally use them constantly. Now we should be looking at something similar to this, hopefully. And it's at this point that I would probably start throwing ivy all over the place. Now, I have kind of progressed as far as my thinking goes on where to put ivy. Under normal circumstances, I would throw ivy along the entire top of the base, essentially, and then have some branching down scattered around. But I don't know if that looks the best anymore, and it is all personal preference at the end of the day. But my recommendation would simply just be to throw ivy where it makes sense to you. Now, in order to add a little bit of functionality to a base like this, I do recommend that every once in a while you add in a bench that may be useful. So as an example here, we'll throw a repair bench just underneath the steps here. And then we'll go ahead and, decorate under the stairs a little bit. In which case, I would personally throw in a couple of crates, maybe a barrel or two, just something like this, to make things look a little more cluttered and realistic. We will go ahead and throw some more fun little rugs all over the place, because you can never have enough of those. And I would go as far as adding a wall lamp right outside the front door here, kind of like a front porch light. And it really does come down to just things like this that spice up your base, but don't overpopulate it, so to speak. Now, I do personally think that the interiors of bases are going to be different for everybody, and I think that maybe you should explore with how you want to set yours up. But for the case of the video, I will show you guys what I did in my original version of this build, just so you have an idea, maybe some inspiration, and that way you can make your own decisions. But as you can see, underneath the stairs, we do have our storage with our repair bench, some extra storage lying around, just a bunch of things. And I personally have labeled chests inside the basement with raw materials, the lootations from drops, from killing pals, and a bunch of other stuff like that. I threw another rug down, have some more storage in the corner. I'm actually using the bar just because it fit nicely. I have my Pal Gear workbench in here, as well as just a random little living room arrangement that has absolutely no function whatsoever, but it looks good. And, I threw two rugs side by side and a couple of couches and chairs down and just rolled with it. Now, coming upstairs, I have the same table set up here, and another gigantic rug when you walk in, where you can also find my high-quality workbench, a little more storage, even some storage in here, which is where I would normally put my schematics or the custom hats, the Pen King hat and things like that. But I don't have them in here currently. This is also where I keep my bed, a little extra storage light around everywhere, and it's just a bunch of fancy stuff that's not necessary, but it looks cool. So that's what I ended up doing for the interior. I'll leave you guys to take some inspiration from here, other videos, whatever you have to do. But this is how I would build a small starter house if I had to start over today. And I hope that this was able to give you guys some inspiration or help you out, but I look forward to seeing you in the next one regardless. Peace.